12. Shia Islam or Imamiyyah is the largest branch of Shia Islam. The term Twelver refers to its adherents' belief in 12 divinely ordained leaders, known as the 12 Imams, and the belief that the last Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi, lives in occultation and will reappear as the promised Mahdi. Twelvers believe that the 12 Imams are the spiritual and political successors to the Islamic prophet Muhammad. According to the Theology of Twelvers, the 12 Imams are exemplary human individuals who not only rule over the community in justice, but also are able to keep and interpret sharia and the esoteric meaning of the Quran. The words and deeds of Muhammad and the Imams are a guide and model for the community to follow. As a result, Muhammad and the Imams must be free from error and sin, known as isma or infallibility, and must be chosen by divine decree, or nas. Through Muhammad, 12 make majorities in Iran, Azerbaijan, Iraq, Bahrain, Lebanon, and significant minorities in Nigeria, Chad, Bangladesh, Tanzania, Kuwait, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, Egypt, and Uzbekistan. 12ers share many tenets of Shia with related sects, such as the belief in Imams, but the Ismaili Shias believe in a different number of Imams and, for the most part, a different path of succession regarding the Imamate. They also differ in the role and overall definition of an Imam. 12ers are also distinguished from Ismailis by the belief in Muhammad's status as the seal of the prophets, in rejecting the possibility of abrogation of sharia laws, and in considering both esoteric and exoteric aspects of the Quran. Alevis in Turkey and Albania and Alaus in Syria share belief in the 12 Imams with 12ers, but the theological doctrines are remarkably different. Terminology. The term 12 is based on the belief that 12 male descendants from the family of Muhammad, starting with Ali ibn Abi Talib and ending with Muhammad al-Mahdi, are Imams who have religious and political authority. The 12ers are also known by other names. The Shian is commonly used as a synonym for 12ers, since this branch comprises the majority group in Shia Islam. Shia refers to a group of Muslims who believe that the succession to Muhammad must remain in his family for specific members who are designated by a divine appointment. Tabatabai states that the word referred to the partisans of Ali at the time of Muhammad himself. Jafari refers exclusively to the 12 juridical school, which is followed by the majority of Shias. It also refers to the minority Akbaris who advocate a distinct juridical approach within Jafari jurisprudence. The term is derived from the name of Jafar al-Sadiq, who is considered by the 12ers to be the 6th Imam. Jafar al-Sadiq is also respected and referenced by the founders of the Sunni Hanafi and Maliki schools of jurisprudence. Imami or Imamiyyah or Imamite is a reference to the 12 belief in the infallibility of the Imams, although the Ismailis also share the generic concept of Imams. This term is exclusively used for the 12ers who believe that the leadership of the community after Muhammad belongs to Ali and 11 subsequent successors that together comprise the 14 infallibles. Theological doctrine. The 12 theology, which mainly consists of 5 principles, has formed over the course of history on the basis of the teachings of Quran and hadiths from Muhammad and the 12 Imams, and in response to the intellectual movements in the Muslim world and major events of the 12 history, such as the Battle of Karbala and the occultation of the 12th Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi. Unity of God. According to Sayyid Hossein Nasr Ali ibn Abi Talib, the first Shia Imam is credited with having established Islamic theology, and among Muslims his sermons contain the first rational proofs of the God's unity. Ali is quoted as arguing that unity of God means that he has no life, he is not subject to numeration, and is not divisible either in reality or imagination. On another occasion, he is quoted saying, "The first step of religion is to accept, understand and realize him as the Lord. The correct form of belief in his unity is to realize that he is so absolutely pure and above nature that nothing can be added to or subtracted from his being. That is, one should realize that there is no difference between his person and his attributes, and his attributes should not be differentiated or distinguished from his person." Sayyid Haydar Amuli, a prominent Shia mystic and philosopher, defines God as alone in being, along with his names, his attributes, his actions, his theophanies. The totality of being therefore is he, through him, comes from him, and returns to him. God is not a being next to or above other beings, his creatures. He is being, the absolute act of being. The divine unitude does not have the meaning of an arithmetical unity among, next to, or above other unities. For, if there were being other than he, God would no longer be the unique I. The only one to be. As this divine essence is infinite, his qualities are the same as his essence. Essentially, there is one reality which is one and indivisible. According to Twelvers theology, Tawhid consists of several aspects, including Tawhid of the essence, the attributes, the creatorship, the lordship and oneness in worship. Tawhid of the essence. Tawhid of the essence of God means his essence is one and peerless. Regarding this, Quran 112 states, "Say, he is Allah, one, Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to him any equivalent." Tawhid of the attributes. Tawhid of the attributes means God's names and attributes have no other reality than his essence. Ali argues that every attribute testifies to its being other than the object to which it is attributed, and every such object in turn testifies to its being other than the attribute. Tawhid of the attributes means to deny the existence of any sort of multiplicity and combination in the essence itself. A differentiation between the essence and the attributes or between the attributes implies a limitation in being. Tawhid of creatorship. Tawhid of creatorship means that there is no creator but God. That is, the causes and effects of the universe are not independent from God, just as the beings which are not independent in essence. There is no power except God, according to Mutahari. Tawhid of lordship. Tawhid of lordship means the governance of the world and man only belongs to God. This oneness of lordship has two aspects: creative governance and religious governance. At last, oneness in worship, i.e., God alone is deserved to be worshipped. According to Murtaza Mutahari, oneness in worship means rejecting all kinds of counterfeit worship, and as Quran says, every act of obedience to an order is worship. Shirk, contrary to Tawhid, is shirk. It is a belief that the world has more than one principal pole. According to Murtaza Mutahari, the distinction of theoretical Tawhid from shirk is recognition of the idea that every reality and being in its essence, attributes and action are from him. Every supernatural action of the prophets is by God's permission, as Quran points to it. Shirk in practice is to assume something as an end in itself, independent from God, but to assume it as a path to God is Tawhid. The justice of God. Ali insists that God is just and he is the justice itself, and the virtue of justice flows from him to the souls of men. Since he is justice, everything he does is just. Shiism considers justice as innate to divine nature, i.e., God cannot act unjustly because it is his nature to be just. Justice in creation. Twelvers believe that God grants every existent what is appropriate for it, as the verse 2050 states, "Our Lord is he who gave unto everything its nature, then guided it aright." Justice in religious dispensation. This belief of Twelvers implies that God guides man through sending the messengers, and he does not impose upon them obligations that are beyond his capacity. justice in recompense. Tabatabai states that their justice of God necessitates that the virtuous and evil people become separated. The virtuous have a good life and the evil have a wretched life. He will judge the beliefs and the deeds of all the people according to the truth, and he will give every one his right due. Then the reality of everything as it is will be revealed for the man. Through his faith and good deeds, he can get to friendship with God. The form of man's deeds are joined to his soul and accompany him, which are the capital of his future life. The verse 96-8 refers to getting back to God. Predestination and free will. 12-verse believe in the Tawhid of creatorship, i.e., all the existence is his creation including human being and his actions. But actions have two dimensions. The first is committing the action by free will. The second is the creation of that action by God's will, with which he gave the people the power to commit the action. Sadr al-Din Shirazi states that God, may he be exalted, is far removed from doing any evil deeds and goes about his kingdom at will. The prophethood. Jafar al-Sadiq narrates from his fathers that Muhammad, in one of his sermons, expressed that sent to people messengers so they might be his conclusive argument against his creatures, and so his messengers to them might be witnesses against them. He sent among them prophets bearing good tidings and warning. Tabatabai states that God has perfected the guidance of people through sending the prophets. When the doctrines and practices of the revealed law gets to its perfection, the prophecy comes to an end too. That is why the Quran points out that Islam is the last and the most perfect religion and Muhammad is the seal of the prophets. He adds, Al-Hili states that the prophets are greater in merit than the angels, because the prophets have conflicts with rational power and they compel it to submit to reason. Angel belief in the existence of the angels is one of the articles of Iman. Unseen beings of a luminous and spiritual substance. Angels act as intermediaries between God and the visible world. Also superior in substance, angels are inferior to mankind, because man can reflect the image of God. The verse 234 implies the superiority of the mankind. God revealed the Quran to Muhammad by Gabriel, who was also his guide on Miraj. The angels record the deeds of men. They follow the commands of God and do not precede him. 21-27. al-Din Kashani discusses that the angels are different in degree and station. Some of them cling to the threshold of perfection, others manage the affairs of the creation. Al-Qazwini, on the base of Quran and Hadith, names them as the bearers of the throne, the Spirit. He governs all the affairs of the earth and heaven according to the principle of creation. Israfil. He places the spirits in the bodies and will blow the trumpet on the last day. Gabriel, who took the revelation to Muhammad. Michael, Azrael, the angel of death. The cherubim who just praise God. The angels of 7 heavens and the guardian angels, 2 of them are concerned with men. The attendant angels, they bring blessings upon human. Munkar and Nakir, who question the dead in the grave. The journeyers, Harat and Marat, are also among them. Revelation. Tabatabai expresses that according to the thesis of general guidance, is the human reason cannot perceive the perfect law of happiness and he could not get it through the process of creation. There should be a general awareness of this law and it could be within the reach of everyone. He adds there must be people who apprehend the real duties of life and bring them within the reach of human being. Tabatabai refers to this power of perception, which is other than the reason and the sense, as the prophetic consciousness of the consciousness of revelation, as the verse 4-163 points to this perception, namely revelation. Tabatabai describes that the reception of revelation, its preservation and its propagation of 3 principles of ontological guidance. What the prophets got through the revelation was religion, which consists of doctrine and practice, a method method. He further adds that with passing of the time and gradual development of the society, the gradual development in the revealed law is apparent. By three ways the speech of God reaches to man: by revelation, a divine inspiration, behind a veil, man can hear God's speech but cannot hear him; or by a messenger, an angel conveys the inspiration to the man. By the verses 72 to 26-28, two types of guardians protect the integrity of the revelation: an angel who protects the prophet against any kind of error, God who protects the angels and the prophets. Miracle. Tabatabai defines the miracle as a supernatural event which is shown by the prophet and the friends of God as a challenge to prove the claim of the prophethood, and it is by God's permission. He states that the miracle should be according to the demands of the people of his own time. He adds that miracle has an inseparable connection with the claim of the prophethood, and it is beyond the intellect and thinking. By miracle, al-Hili means the bringing into existence of something which is abnormal, or the removal of something which normally exists, in a way which breaks through normality and which conforms to the claim. Svani regards some differences between miracles and extraordinary acts. He notes that miracles are not teachable and they are done without any prior training, as they are derived from the infinite power of God. The miracles are indisputable. The miracles are of unlimited types. The miracles are often concerned with spiritual matters rather worldly matters. Imamiyyah and Shia believe in the trilateral structure of authority of God which is absolute and universal, as the verse 326 implies. Authority of Muhammad which is legitimized by the grace of God, as the verse 7 to 158 points to it, and the authority of the Imams who are blessed for the leadership of the community through Muhammad, as the verses 5 to 67 and 5 to 3 verifies according to Shia fundamental belief. According to Shia, Imamiyyah is a continuation of the prophetic mission. Shia believe in the 12 Imams who are divinely inspired descendants of Muhammad. They must meet these attributes: Nas, Isma, Ilm, Wilayah. The 12 Imams of the spiritual and political successors to Muhammad based on Twelvers belief. It is believed in Shia Islam that Aqul, a divine wisdom, was the source of the souls of the prophets and Imams and gave them esoteric knowledge, called Hikmah, and that the sufferings were a means of divine grace to the devotees. Although the Imam was not the recipient of a divine revelation, but has close relationship with God, through which God guides him, and the Imam in turn guides the people. The Imamiyyah, or belief in the divine guide, is a fundamental belief in Shia Islam and is based on the concept that God would not leave humanity without access to divine guidance. According to Twelvers, there is always an Imam of the age, who is the divinely appointed authority on all matters of faith and law in the Muslim community. Ali was the first Imam of this line, and in the Twelvers' view, the rightful successor to Muhammad, followed by male descendants of Muhammad through his daughter Fatima. Each Imam was the son of the previous Imam, with the exception of Hussein ibn Ali, who was the brother of Hassan ibn Ali. The 12th and final Imam is Muhammad al-Mahdi, who is believed by the Twelvers to be currently alive and in hiding. The Shia Imams are seen as infallible. It is an important aspect of Shia theology that they are not prophets nor messengers, but instead carry out Muhammad's message. While Sunni Muslims view all religions and groups that accept prophets or messengers after Muhammad to be heathen or heretical, Shia Muslims to consider the Imams to be higher in rank than all the prophets and messengers except Muhammad. The succession to Muhammad. Shia believe that with the death of Muhammad, his religious and political authority were inherited to the Imams. Shia considers the successor as the esoteric interpreter of the revelation and the divine law. Twelvers believe that the descendants of the Islamic prophet Muhammad through his daughter Fatima and his son-in-law Ali are the best source of knowledge about the Quran and Islam, the most trusted carriers and protectors of Muhammad's Sunnah and the most worthy of emulation. In particular, Twelvers recognize the succession of Ali, Muhammad's cousin, son-in-law, the male head of the Ahl-al-Bayt or people of the house, and the father of Muhammad's only bloodline, as opposed to that of the Caliphate recognized by Sunni Muslims. Twelvers also believe that Ali should have been successor to Muhammad. Although Ali is widely accepted by Muslims in general to be the fourth successor to the Caliphate after Uthman, for the Shia, however, he is the first divinely sanctioned Imam, or divinely appointed spiritual leader after Muhammad. The seminal event in Shia history is the martyrdom in 680 CE of Ali's son Hussein, who led an uprising against the then illegitimate to them Caliph. For the Shia, Hussein came to symbolize resistance against tyranny. Regardless of the dispute about the Caliphate, Twelvers recognize the religious authority of the 12 Imams, also called Khalifa Ilahi, Ziyarah and Tawassul by Shia. To take advantage of factors to attain the goals is natural, but these factors should not be taken as independent from God and should have been established in the Quran and Hadith. This means can be anything which causes drawing proximity to God, such as prayer, almsgiving. Isma in Shia theology, Isma means impeccability, immunity to sin, and infallibility. Quote, when Isma is attributed to human beings, the concept means the ability of avoiding acts of disobedience, in spite of having the power to commit them. As in prophets and imams, Isma is a divine grace realized by God's preservation of the infallible, first by endowing them with pure constitution, then, following in order, by blessing them with great excellences, giving them firm will against opponents, sending tranquility down upon them, and preserving the hearts and minds from sin. According to the theology of Twelvers, the successor of Muhammad is an infallible human individual who not only rules over the community with justice, but also is able to keep and interpret the sharia and its esoteric meaning. The words and deeds of Muhammad and the Imams are a guide and model for the community to follow. Therefore, they must be free from error and sin, and must be chosen by divine decree, or nas, through Muhammad. According to Twelvers Shia, the Islamic prophet Muhammad, his daughter Fatima Zahra, and the 12 Imams are considered to be infallible under the theological concept of Isma. Accordingly, they have the power to commit sin but are able to avoid doing so by the nature. The infallibles are believed to follow only God's desire in their actions, because of the supreme righteousness, consciousness, and love for God. They are also regarded as being immune to error, in practical matters, in calling people to religion, and in the perception of divine knowledge. Shias believe that the 14 infallibles are superior to the rest of creation, as well as to the other major prophets. From a historical viewpoint, Wilfred Madelung claims that the purification of Ahl-al-Bayt, the family of Muhammad, is guaranteed by the verse of purification in the Quran. Donaldson in his argument believed that the development of the Shiite theology in the period between the death of Muhammad and the disappearance of the 12th Imam originates the concept of Isma, which adds to its importance, and Lambton claims that neither the term nor the concept of Isma is in the Quran or in canonical Sunni Hadith. It was apparently first used by the Imamiyyah, perhaps during the beginning of the 2nd century of the Islamic calendar, in which they maintained that the Imam must be immune from sin. According to Hamid Algar, the concept Isma is encountered as early as the first half of the 2nd century of the Islamic calendar. The Shia scholars of the 4th and the 5th centuries of the Islamic calendar defined the infallibility of Muhammad and the 12 Imams in an increasingly stringent form until the doctrine came to exclude the commission of any sin or inadvertent error, either before or after their assumed office. The Occultation Occultation. According to Twelvers, the conditions under the Abbasids caused Hassan al-Askari to hide the birth of his son, al-Mahdi. The occultation is a controversial concept. Shia sects like the Zaydi and Nizari Ismaili do not believe in the idea of the occultation, the day of resurrection, by Shia theological doctrine. Since the people have come from God, they will go back to God, and it is related to people's reaction to the prophecy. They argue that according to the Quran 23-115, God, whose actions are the absolute truth, does not create a man without any purpose, while the quality of this world makes the recompense impossible. The justice of God necessitates that everyone be recompensed according to his own actions. Tabatabai describes the death as a transfer from one stage of life to another eternal stage. The verse 2147 points to the precision of the scales of justice by which the deeds and intentions of people are weighed. The return. Twelvers believe in the return. The term refers to the revival of a group of Muslims back to this world after the appearance of Mahdi. The base of this belief derives from the revival of the dead in the past communities as mentioned in the Quran and the revival at the day of resurrection. Svani describes that resurrection is both of body and spirit. Quran 17:51. In response to those that ask, "Who will restore us?" answers, "He who brought you forth the first time." Quote. In another place, verse 22-5-6, it is like the revival of the earth in the season of the spring after the winter. He adds the verse 36-79 implies that the person who is raised up at the resurrection is the one who was alive on the earth. The purpose of the resurrection of the body and rejoining the soul is that it experience the rewards and punishments which are sensible, and they can not be experienced with the lack of the body. The purpose of spiritual resurrection is to observe those rewards and punishments which are as special to the spirit. The day of judgment, God will resurrect all human beings and they will stand before God to be questioned about their lives on the world. On this day people are two groups: people who receive the book by the right hand, who are the people of paradise and the face is bright, and the people who receive the book by the left hand, who are the people of hell and the face is dark. Is the verse 41-21 points out, on the day of judgment, the ears, eyes and skin of disbelievers will testify against them, saying, Allah has caused us to speak. He causes all things to speak. Intercession. Belief to the intercession derives from the Quran 21:28, 10-3, 53-26 and Sunnah. Muhammad, the angels 53-26. Imams and martyrs are among the intercessors by God's will. Muhammad has expressed that one of God's gifts to him is the right of intercession of those who have committed major sins. As Quran represents, the sons of Jacob asked the father to intercede for them, and the father promised to them that he will do it at the promised time.